The Cop and the Anthem by O. Henry. Presentation prepared by Mrs. Sujata Ali. About the author. O. Henry, 1862 to 1910. William Sidney Porter, better known by his pen name O. Henry, was an American short story writer. He was a voracious, meaning extensive reader since childhood. He started a humorous weekly, The Rolling Stone, and when the venture failed, he joined the Houston Post as a reporter, columnist, and occasional cartoonist. His tales generally romanticized the commonplace, in particular the life of ordinary people in New York City. His stories expressed the effect of coincidence on character through humor, grim or ironic, and often had surprise endings, a device that became identified with his name and caused him critical favor when its vogue had passed. People have often used the term smile with tears, which implies his twisted way of thoughts and endings in almost every story. In the story, the main character, Soapy, is a vagabond, meaning a wanderer who also has a criminal background. He makes different plans to re-enter the prison as he has no shelter to protect himself from the severe winter. This has been depicted by the writer in a humorous way, as all attempts made by Soapy to get arrested by the cops fail. The story nevertheless ends in an unexpected way. The Cop and the Anthem is about freedom and confinement. Initially, Soapy feels there is freedom from miseries and worries in confinement, that is, in prison. The notes of Anthem transform him from within and he resolves to work hard. Soapy faces the irony of fate as the moment he realizes the real freedom lies in a virtuous life, he is arrested by the cop and taken into confinement. Let us now see the complete summary in a detailed manner. Soapy's first attempt to get arrested. Soapy left his bench and started walking towards the square where Broadway and Fifth Avenue flow together. He stopped in front of a luxurious cafe. He was dressed like a true gentleman from his vest upwards. He was clean-shaven and his coat was trim and neat. He had also worn a black bow gifted to him by a lady missionary on Thanksgiving Day. He simply needed to sneak up to a table and sit down so no one could notice his shabby, dirty trousers and torn, worn-out shoes. He would order a roasted mallard duck, a bottle of wine, cheese, a cup of coffee, and a cigar. After eating to his heart's content, he would tell the waiter he had no money to pay for the food he had eaten, and that would definitely get him arrested, and he would promptly be sent to jail, where he regarded as his winter island to escape from the severe cold outside. But as luck would have it, the moment he set foot inside the restaurant door, the head waiter's eye fell upon his tattered torn trousers and dirty old shoes. Strong and steady hands turned him and led him outside the restaurant in silence and haste, and thus averted his chance of eating the mallard duck and not being sent to prison. Soapy's second attempt to get arrested. Soapy turned off Broadway, the main road. He felt that his desire to enter prison was not going to be easy. He had to find another way to enter jail. At the corner of another street, he noticed a beautiful showroom that had displayed their wares, that is, articles, at the glass window for passers-by to see. Soapy picked up a stone and threw it at the glass window. The glass broke into pieces, making a loud, shattering voice. People came running around the corner, and so did the policeman. Soapy stood still with his hands in his pockets and smiled at the policeman, telling him it was he who had broken the glass of the window. The policeman refused to believe him, saying anything that if he had done it, he wouldn't be foolish enough to stand there and wait to get arrested. The policeman saw a man running at the far end of the road to catch a cab, that is, a taxi, and thought him to be the person responsible for breaking the glass and started chasing after him. Soapy, with disgust in his heart, drifted along, twice unsuccessful. Soapy's third attempt to get arrested. On the opposite side of the street, he saw a restaurant of no great pretensions. This place catered to large appetites and modest purses. Its crockery and atmosphere were thick. Its soup and napery, meaning the tablecloth and napkins, were thin. Soapy sat down at a table and ordered beef steak, flapjacks, donuts, and pie, and ate to his heart's content. After finishing his meal, he openly declared that he had no money to pay the bill and requested the manager to call the cops and get him arrested. To his sheer bad luck, the hotel staff lifted Soapy and threw him out of the restaurant onto the pavement. Poor Soapy got up from the pavement, dusted his clothes, and started walking down the street once again. The island, that is, the jail, seemed far away. A policeman who was watching from afar simply laughed and walked away from the scene. Soapy was seized with the fear that some dreadful enchantment magic had rendered him immune to arrest. He came across another policeman laughing loudly in front of a glittering theater, and suddenly Soapy felt like doing something terribly disorderly. On the sidewalk, Soapy began to shout and yell in a drunken manner, utter nonsense at the top of his voice. He danced, howled, raved, and disturbed everyone around. The policeman simply twirled, that is, turned something quickly round and round, that was his club, looked at Soapy and remarked to a citizen that this fellow is simply a Yale College student celebrating the goose egg that they give to the Hartford College. He is just full of noise, but doesn't mean any harm. The police had been given instructions to simply overlook such students. Once again, Soapy failed in his attempt to get himself arrested. The island, that is the jail, seemed an unattainable Arcadia, that is a place associated with bountiful natural splendor and harmony. He buttoned his thin coat against the chilling cold wind. Soapy's next attempt at getting arrested. He stood outside a cigarette shop. A well-dressed man was lighting his cigar. He had kept his silk umbrella by the door on entering. Soapy grabbed the umbrella and started walking off slowly. The man immediately began to follow him quickly. He shouted at Soapy and asked him to return his umbrella. Soapy arrogantly shouted back, telling him if it really was his umbrella, he should call a cop and get him arrested. On hearing this, the umbrella owner slowed his footsteps. A cop was watching all this drama from a distance. Soapy somehow felt that his luck would again deceive him. The umbrella man apologized, that is, said that he was sorry, and added that he had, by mistake, picked up the umbrella in a restaurant today morning, mistaking it to be his. He retreated from the spot, and Soapy was once again left without getting arrested. The policeman proceeded to help a tall lady in crossing the road. By now, Soapy lost all hopes of getting arrested. He started walking down the street, muttering, that is, talking to himself, against the cops who had refused to arrest him, even though he had broken so many laws. He finally reached one of the avenues, meaning a street having trees on both sides, and proceeded towards Madison Square. That was where he used to sleep on one of the benches. As he approached the corner, he suddenly came to a standstill. He was right in front of a massive, huge old church. He could clearly hear the melodious music flowing out of the window. Soapy froze. The beautiful anthem song transfixed Soapy to the iron fence, for he had listened to that music many times when his mother was alive, and he had a better life with his family and friends, and he used to wear clean and decent clothes. He had ambitions and dreams which had never been fulfilled. His earlier life flashed in front of his eyes and transformed him. The conjunction of Soapy's receptive state of mind and the influence about the old church brought about a sudden and wonderful change in his soul. He viewed with rising horror the pit into which he had tumbled, the degraded days, unworthy desires, dead hopes, wrecked faculties, and base motives that made up his existence. A strong impulse moved him to battle with his desperate fate. He would pull himself from this mire, meaning from this unpleasant situation or bad place, and would make a man of himself again. He would conquer the evil that had enslaved him. He still had time to change his ways. He was young. He would bring to life his old eager ambitions and pursue them without faltering, meaning without losing strength or momentum. The solemn, serious, and sweet organ piano notes had set up a revolution in him. Tomorrow, he would go into the busy downtown district and find work. That is what he had promised himself. He would start looking for a job from tomorrow. He wanted to make his life worthwhile. A fur importer had once offered him a place as a driver. He would be somebody in this world. Suddenly, Soapy felt a hand laid on his arm. He turned and looked quickly around into the impassive face of a policeman. The policeman asked him what he was doing standing there. Soapy said he wasn't doing anything. The policeman asked him to accompany him to the police station. Next morning, he was taken to the police court, where the magistrate put him in prison, that is in jail, for 3 months. He finally got his wish to get arrested and spend time in jail exactly when he had decided to reform, to change himself and make something good of his life. This was a great tragedy for Soapy. The end. This presentation was prepared by Mrs. Sujata Ali. Thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe to my channel.